This is the Build Zone podcast.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Podcast listeners, we are in for a treat today because I have been tracking this poor gentleman down for months now, and he's finally agreed to come on. This is our last episode of 2024. So welcome to the podcast, Ryan Foye, Vice President, Future Comp Division at USI Insurance Services. Ryan, welcome finally to the podcast.
I know. Thanks, Mike. It's great to be here. I feel bad that you had to chase me down. It felt like years, but you finally got me in the crosshairs. So good to be here.
Ryan, not the only one. There's a lot of people that are on the run for me, and I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. If I see people at events, they usually like, and there's one gentleman, I will not say his name. If he sees me, he usually runs the other way. So there's a few people that I try not to, harass, but I know that they'd be good guests on the podcast, and I like talking to interesting people. And you're one of those people that, as an ABC Massachusetts member, does a heck of a lot of great things for our membership. So why don't you tell the listeners about yourself, what you do, and how you can help the members?
And again, I appreciate that. So I'm with a company called Future Comp. We are a third-party administrator that manages a number of regional self-insurance groups, including the ABC Mass Workers' Comp Self-Insurance Trust. The program has been around for, what are we now, 2024, almost 2025, geez. It's been around for about 30 years. We have great members, and essentially it is a program that has been developed, and it's regulated by the Division of Insurance in Massachusetts to give employers the ability to help keep a lid on their workers' comp costs and keep their employees safe. So we fight that battle daily. We've got a great team of people. We've got nurses, we've got claims folk. We have a huge focus on loss control. And it gives companies in Massachusetts that are in the construction and contractor space the ability and flexibility to really kind of control their costs and keep their people safe. So it's a good program, and I'm happy to be a part of it.
And it's very exciting, right? Because it's, again, one of the member benefits of being an ABC Massachusetts member. This is something that I don't think a lot of members know about. And I know that the state group does a phenomenal job of trying to get out there, and Ryan comes to a ton of events, meets a lot of people. When you're meeting maybe a member that doesn't know what the SIG group is, what are some things you tell them about the SIG and how it can help them?
The big thing obviously is, it's a select group in that, as a benefit to ABC for what it does for members, we really need to be selective in the type of companies that come into the program, because it is, at the end of the day, a cost-saving, a cost-reducing program. So one of the things that I like to talk about or ask possible candidates is, what's their safety culture all about? What's kind of built in? What do they have? What do they do on a daily basis to re-educate and reinforce all the topics and things surrounding safety? Once I hear those things, that safety is a critical piece of their day-to-day operations, it's an easy conversation. The conversation will generally go to, well, with regard to workers' comp, if there was a vehicle, so to speak, out there that's going to help you reap the benefits of what you're already doing, let's have a conversation about ABC Mass. That's essentially how it goes.
Again, amazing service provided by the folks over at Future Comp. So Ryan, for those that may not know who you are, how did you get into this business? What were you, how did someone get into the insurance business?
It's probably the most boring story in the world. After school, I was looking for employment, and a job with an insurance company came up. I started my career. I started my career with in the standard market carrier place. Marketplace, I should say, with MetLife Auto and Home. I did some work with the Arbella Insurance Group. I did claims administration. I was an examiner. I was a fraud investigator for some time. I had some very interesting cases with dealing with insurance fraud cases. You may remember, probably in the late 1990s, there were a host of issues with attorneys in the state that were filing fraudulent lawsuits. I was the first person with our company, boots on the ground, compiling cases as it pertained to particular insurance brokers and agencies. So I was kind of looking at the fraud from a different perspective. So I did that for a long time, and naturally the claims world is a little bit different on that side of things, on the auto liability side of things. And then I went into the brokerage space. I was a small personal risk advisor. I did commercial insurance brokerage, and the opportunity with Future Comp came about. And it was a little bit different. It's still in the insurance area. Obviously, my experience and background understanding commercial insurance is a significant boost. But this is a program that it basically gives back. It's a value add to ABC, and it's a give back program. It's a way to reward companies that do a good job on risk management and loss control. And it's a bunch of great people.
Yeah.
It's a really good program, and I'm very happy to be a part of ABC and close to ABC.
So when you and the other SIG people are out there trying to talk to members, what are some of the things you talk to them about? We talked high about the safety piece, right? Because you said it's not just can't let anybody in, right? It's for it's a select type of company looking for
Yep.
high on the safety culture, right? What else do you tell people about the SIG and what it takes to be a member?
Yeah, so there's obviously there are parameters around what is a possible fit. I don't want to go too deep into the technical piece of it, but they have to basically perform their core responsibilities need to be an acceptable risk for established underwriting criteria. So, for example, type of companies we have in ABC Mass, so you've got your electricians, your HVAC guys, masons. Carpenters, big construction companies, small construction companies. They do need to have a minimum premium threshold. We'd like to say that companies that are above $25,000 in premium that have a safety culture that do these sort of operations there, that's kind of your base level requirement. And then if a company's interested, we get into a little bit deeper. We have to look at financial information because, again, as you mentioned, this is a self-insurance group. So we collect premiums in the aggregate for all the members, and those premiums that we collect are used directly to pay claims. So the companies that come in need to have a certain level of financial stability and solvency because, again, we are funding claims with their money. And there's a safety inspection. If a company wants to come into the group and they check the other boxes, we need to get boots on the ground. We do contract with Contractors Risk Management, who is a close partner of ABC. They're the ones that work hand in hand with our folks, and they meet with them. They go through a bunch of items on a checklist to make sure that they're doing everything as far as OSHA compliance. There's a whole host of issues that they discuss at a safety meeting. And then at the end of the day, it's my responsibility to present a case to the board of directors that said, hey, here's a company. This is what they do. They've got a safety culture. Their premium is good. They had a safety assessment done and they passed that. We would like to make a recommendation for them to join ABC. So there's a couple of steps there. But to your original question, to identify those prospective companies, it really doesn't, the conversation doesn't start unless we get a good feeling that they've got a handle on their loss control piece.
And then, and you briefly talked about it during that, but if someone comes to you and maybe they're a new company or they're a company with, maybe they don't have all that criteria, you hook them up with the right members to get them in the right direction, correct?
It's ABC is a phenomenal network for that. I mean, there are so many people. I mean, right now with ABC Mass, I believe we're close to 500 members in Massachusetts. So yeah, it's a great network for, contractors to find subs. And then, to your question about what if they don't have the bones, they don't have the meat on the bone, so to speak, with their loss control. We can work with them. We can enhance existing programs. We can build programs from scratch. The services that CRM and we provide on the loss control side, we have over 100 customizable training and prevent injury prevention programs already that we utilize. And if we find a quirky thing that's not currently, in our toolbox, so to speak, we can develop that. Because at the end of the day, if we're not doing our job on the loss control side, the SIG is not a profitable thing for our members.
And do you have a particular story? Don't name the company, but where someone came to you with some problems or maybe they weren't checking the right boxes, right? And maybe the story where you connected them with the right people and you were able to get them in the SIG and they were able to see that return.
We have those conversations all the time. Again, I can't go into details, but I'm thinking not only ABC, but a couple of other programs that I work with. They're almost there. You know what I mean? But the conversation is, you may not have the infrastructure built at the current time. Are you amenable to working with our folks and saying, okay, if we join the program, we're going to reevaluate this in 6 months or 12 months and see where we are.
Right.
The good thing about our program, with particularly with ABC, well, all of them, but specifically ABC, is they are so well managed and run based on the folks internally that we have, that our programs have a 99% retention rate.
Oh,
I mean, it's really unheard of. And that 1%, it's either they close their doors or go out of business, or they're part of an acquisition.
right.
Very, very infrequently does a company leave any of our programs to go to a standard market carrier or something else. So, the at the end of the day, and again, I'm going to try not to get too technical and bore people with numbers, but
Right.
we have this group's been around for 30 years, right? In the standard market carrier place, when companies purchase workers' comp insurance, there's a 65% loss ratio set as the benchmark, meaning for every dollar of insurance premium that an insurance company brings in, they expect to pay out 65 cents of that in claims. Other 35 cents is, salaries and benefits and overhead,
Wow.
office leases and all that stuff. So in our world, our loss ratio, and this is not just a snapshot of last year or the last couple of years. This is a 30-year average. We are outproducing the standard market at a 41% clip. We're beating them. Our loss ratio in ABC is 41% versus 65% in the standard market. So, and that's a testament to our great members that want to be part of the program, that want to work with other ABC members, that want to bring the right kind of companies in, and they always have their eye on the ball as far as loss prevention and risk management goes. That's a direct testament to what they do.
It's funny, right? When Venus is talking to people about becoming members, or some of the membership committees talking to people about being members, I don't think we highlight. I don't know enough about the SIG group to know any of that stuff, and I think it's great to have you on here today to talk about that. It's great. We've got great benefits such as a discount on schooling with the Gould, or you save some money on a cell phone bill. But I think the one of the biggest highlights is going to be getting into the SIG group and participating with this group, and the ability to save your company some money.
Mhm.
Highlight your safety aspect of your business,
Yep.
especially if you're a new business, right? If you're a growing business, what's better than, maybe you don't know much about the safety side, the insurance side, right? And you get in this SIG group and you've got people like yourself, some experts in the group that can really help members figure this stuff out, because I'm sure there's a lot of people that don't understand how it works and what
Yeah.
they have to do with it.
And honestly, Mike, a lot of times, if I put my broker hat back on for a second here, the workers' comp is generally, it can be the biggest spend for a company.
Right.
It's the most risk is wrapped up in your employee safety, right? So a lot of times the comp is the biggest piece of the puzzle in their annual spend.
What about as far as, trying to think, like maybe, and again, the 30 years is wild. Of all the other groups that you have helped out, is there any group been around longer than that?
We have a group in Maine that was launched in 1992, so they got them by a couple of years.
Wow.
But so as a company, so Future Comp is a subdivision of USI Insurance Services. USI Insurance Services is, I want to say, the fifth or the sixth largest broker in the United States. I want to say right now we're ranked number 11 globally. We have over 11,000 employees, and
Wow.
it's a big, big organization. So you have a company like that behind us that gives us phenomenal resources, technology, all of these different pieces to help support what we do on a daily basis. As a TPA, we're obviously one of the largest TPAs in the region, and we have 9 self-insurance groups. We do a lot of work in the public sector. We work with cities and towns on their civilian workers' compensation programs and police and fire programs. Workers' comp and disability claims management is all we do. And there's a reason why we have such great relationships and connections with programs like ABC. It's because we're a trusted advisor and resource for ABC's members.
And it's funny, it said 1992, and that was 30 something years ago, but it seems like yesterday because that's when I graduated high school in 1992. So it's like I thought you would say like the 60s, right? And even the 60s wasn't that long ago, right?
Yeah.
1992 is over 30 years ago. It's crazy.
Yeah, we do have an acquisition for a firm that does a lot of work out of state, and they've got I want to say they were like 1950, 54 or something like that. So
That's wild. And
a lot
then
of experience.
for people that may be listening that are on the fence about joining an ABC chapter or the ABC Massachusetts, what is a piece of advice you would give them, right, to get them to be members?
Yeah, a couple of things. So I would say off the top of my head, if you do have that safety conscious mindset, then have a conversation. And then again, I don't like to talk about, the results are great. The results are phenomenal. And my concern is more so our members, their employees go to work, go home in the same condition that they came to the office in the morning with all their fingers and toes, right?
Yep.
But if we're doing our job, it speaks to about $15 million in dividends or premium refunds since the group started in 1995. A lot of times the conversation goes to, depending on their size and scope. The SIG is a great, the cost of membership in ABC a lot of times can be absorbed by their back end savings
Yep.
for a well-run workers' comp program.
Right.
Right. And they
And
get all the benefits of ABC. They get the networking, the political advocacy, access to the Gould Institute. All of these great things are baked into that relationship.
It's funny, right? So a lot of times when people will become members and the year goes by and they get to renew, and they'll say, I'm not going to renew. I didn't get anything out of my membership. First thing we say is it's a lot like a gym membership, right?
Yep.
I know I belong to a gym. I pay X number of dollars a month. I got the little thing on my keychain, but I never go, right? Why am I not losing weight? Why am I getting in shape? But hey, Dr. Smith, I belong to the gym, right? If you don't go to the gym and use all the benefits, whether it be the pool, the sauna,
Yep.
the cold plunge, the training, whatever it is, you're not taking full advantage of being a member. So there's people out there that they become members. Yep, they become members. They're very happy and proud, but they never come to an event and they don't come to any sort of webinar and they don't ask the questions and they don't get involved in the safety side of things, or they don't know how important the safety side of things is. And it's funny that you have to say that out loud, right? Like you said, we all want people to come to work and go home at the end of the day, 10 fingers, 10 toes.
Yep.
And it's wild to me that somebody wouldn't want to be like, listen, I want to make sure my employees are safe. What do I got to do? Can contractors risk management help me go over my safety plan or my training plan? I think that's amazing that Ryan is involved, does a great job with the SIG. Ryan, if anybody's any questions about the SIG, how can they get a hold of you?
Yeah, so I try to stay as active as possible on LinkedIn, so I can be found there. If you want to drop me a note on an email, my email is Ryan Ryan dot Foye Foye at USI.com.
And
So
if you watch,
happy to
yep.
field any questions.
And if you're watching the video, we'll make sure to put Ryan's link down there on the video piece. But several months ago, I bumped into Ryan at an event. He claimed he was a self-proclaimed 80s
Uh,
movie trivia nerd and geek. I did stump him, but I did stump him with a pretty tough question. I mean, this was the question I asked him is the movie Back to the Future. What is the name of Marty McFly's band? And he did stumble on it. They didn't get it. So it's Marty and the Pinheads, right? So that was a tough one. And this is kind of a modified version of the lightning round. We're going to ask him 10 questions about 80s movie trivia. I didn't go too crazy. I didn't go that in depth. But the question number one is, in which movie does a group of kids set out to find One-Eyed Willie's treasure?
Goonies.
All right. So he's 1 for 1. That was an easy one. Maybe they'll get a little harder.
That was an easy one.
What was the name of the protagonist, the hero in the 1984 movie The Karate Kid?
Ralph Macchio, Danny.
We're going because Daniel, do you have a last name? Because we'll give you half credit for just the first name.
Danielson.
We'll give you half credit. Daniel LaRusso, we're going to give him half credit now. All right.
He was from Merceda, I believe.
That's-
I believe that
But,
might
but he
be
moved from New Jersey. Moved from New Jersey to Reseda. Yep, correct. Which action-packed movie introduced us to the fearless archaeologist Indiana Jones? I need a full title.
Which movie? Raiders of the Lost Ark.
We'll give you that. Yep. Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark. When was the first film of the Star Wars franchise released? The
I
year.
want to say that was 1977.
Wow, nailed it. Wow, he nailed it. He's guy's crushing it today. Which film follows a group of high school students as they serve detention on a fateful Saturday?
Breakfast Club.
All right, good one. Let's see here. In what movie was this said? I feel the need for speed.
Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
That is incorrect.
It is.
It is Top Gun.
Oh,
Tom Cruise's character says it. I feel the need for speed.
yeah. I'm gonna
let's
think.
see here.
I'm gonna lose sleep on that one tonight, Mike. That's
Should.
gonna lay
That's
out.
that's a tough one. In what movie? This quote came from a movie. What movie was it? Life moves pretty fast. If you don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it. What is this film? The quote from? Life moves pretty fast. If you don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it.
You know, I'm gonna say no answer. It's familiar, but I don't know the movie.
Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
All right.
Let's see here. I want to go too hard for you here. This is a really hard one. How much does Hans Gruber intend to steal in Die Hard? Remember how much money he's tried to steal? It's a real hard one. That's a hard one.
Yippee-ki-yay.
It's well, yeah. How much money was he trying to steal?
I'm gonna say 50 million.
It was 640 million.
I was off.
Way off. Let's see here.
Well, inflation. Are you talking 2024 prices?
I will give that. We'll give you that. We'll give you that.
1988. Okay.
This one here. Let's see here. The quote, "Say hello to my little friend," is from which film? Say hello to my little friend.
That's Scarface.
Scarface. Give you that one. Let's get one more here. This film, released in 1982, won the hearts of audiences and critics alike, featuring the tender relationship between a young boy and an alien visitor.
Oh,
1982, little boy, alien visitor.
E.T.
E.T. All right. All right, Ryan, I think you redeemed yourself. Did a pretty good job. That's this week's lightning round. Did a fantastic job. You know, those are pretty tricky ones. I think the fact you got the 1977 for Star Wars was that was a tough one. The Breakfast Club was a good one, but Ryan, you've redeemed yourself. Nice job. I'm going to give you back the title to self-proclaimed 80s movie trivia.
I love it. I love
I'm glad I got Sean.
You're very generous. Awesome. I appreciate that very much.
Marty the Pinheads is a tough one. That's a real tough one. All right, that is Ryan Foye. Please reach out to Ryan if anybody out there has any questions about the SIG, ABC Massachusetts membership. He's the guy to help you answer any questions around all things around the SIG. Ryan, thanks a lot very much. Happy holidays to you and your family. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. And hopefully you'll come back on again. It won't take us too much begging to have you come back on again.
That sounds great. I would love to. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Ryan.